Unprecedented scenes in the streets of China. Protests erupted in a number of cities. Some say this is a clear referendum against President Xi Jinping's harsh zero-COVID policy. They claim that the policy has slowed down the economic growth of the Asian tiger, the second largest economy in the world.
If, however, the leadership in Beijing and local authorities decide to crack down or to use force, if some tragic event were to arise with the loss of life or serious damage to property and livelihoods, well, I think that would be foolish, and it could well lead to an even further uptick in this pent-up anxiety and even anger that is affecting so much of the population.
Such moments have not been seen in China since the 1989 Tiananmen Square incident. President Xi has been at the forefront of the war against COVID-19, and he defended the zero-COVID policy. He claimed that it was all about putting people first. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has warned protesters that they must respect the country's laws.
China is a country governed by the rule of law, and the various legal rights and freedoms enjoyed by Chinese citizens are fully guaranteed in accordance with the law. At the same time, any rights and freedoms must be exercised within the framework of the law.
The situation is calm, while demonstrators have called for an end to China's burdensome COVID-19 prevention policies. The country of 1.4 billion people has spent nearly 3 years living with some of the strictest COVID restrictions in the world. Meanwhile, Chinese authorities plan to speed up COVID-19 vaccinations.
The problem reflected by the masses are not mainly aimed at the prevention and control of the epidemic itself, but focused on the simplification over zealous implementation.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says protesters have the right to be heard.
Protests that we're seeing in China, protests that we're seeing for different reasons in Iran, in other places. Our position is the same everywhere, which is that we support the right of people everywhere to peacefully protest, to make known their views, their concerns, and their frustrations.
The protests were triggered by fire in the Xinjiang region last week that's killed 10 people who were trapped in their apartments. Demonstrators say lockdown measures were partly to blame, a claim authorities have denied. Kylie Kumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Let's stay with this story. Chinese police have been out in force to quell further protests against the country's strict COVID-19 controls. Many analysts say the unrest is likely to force any political change or even make the government ease up on restrictions. Patrick Falk reports from Hong Kong.
Well, the situation has been changing dramatically over the past 24 hours. Security has been beefed up across several major cities in China, including in Beijing. There's a heavy police presence in the capital, patrolling the streets on Monday night. And in Shanghai, barriers and roadblocks have been put up along Wulamuchi Road. That's the site of what's arguably been the most significant protest site in recent days. And it does appear as though this protest movement, if you can call it that, is gradually dying down. Some experts we've been talking to have said that in order for something like this to take hold, it needs to be organized and it needs to be structured. And for that, you need civil rights groups and you need activists involved as well. But under President Xi Jinping, a lot of these things have been eliminated. But don't forget that these protests have been a setback for China in terms of efforts to try and eliminate the virus. And also President Xi Jinping still has an economic crisis on his hands. And what's happened in recent days will no doubt be damaging to morale for many people in China. And it is still something that the government will need to address.